All right, so we're diving into AI teamwork today. We've got this paper on something called AutoGen, a new open source framework, and it sounds like it's changing the game for building LLM applications.
It's really interesting to see this shift, actually. With AutoGen, we're not just programming individual AI actions anymore. It's more like we're enabling AI agents to actually communicate and collaborate with each other. Think of it like a team of AI specialists, each with their own strengths, coming together to tackle a problem.
Okay, so less like giving AI a to-do list and more like assembling a dream team of AI specialists.
Exactly.
That's fascinating. But what kind of real-world problems are we talking about here? What could this kind of AI teamwork actually be used for?
Let's say you're a developer working on a really complex coding project. And let's say this project involves using a brand new software library, something that just came out.
Okay, I'm following.
Now, a typical AI assistant, it might struggle with that, right? Because its training data wouldn't include information about this new library.
Right, it wouldn't have the context.
Exactly. But this is where AutoGen is different. It can actually tap into external data sources, like the latest documentation for that brand new library, and then use that information to generate up-to-date, accurate code.
Hold on, so you're saying AutoGen allows AI to basically update its knowledge base on the fly?
Yes.
That's huge. That means developers could use AI for tasks that require constantly evolving information. We're talking about keeping up with the ever-changing world of software development, for example.
Absolutely. And it's not limited to just coding either. Think about any task that involves accessing and processing real-time information. AutoGen can handle it, from answering complex questions to navigating dynamic environments.
So it's not just about crunching numbers, it's about actually understanding that information and acting on it in a meaningful way.
Precisely. There's this fascinating example in the paper where they use AutoGen to control a web browser. You have a team of these AI agents working together. One might be gathering information from a website, another one is filling out forms, and another one's making decisions based on the content it's seeing.
It's like having a team of like digital assistants working behind the scenes.
Exactly.
That's incredible. But with this level of AI autonomy, how do we make sure that everything is happening safely and responsibly?
That's a really important question. The creators of AutoGen took this very seriously, and they've actually built in a multi-agent approach to safety. There are dedicated agents that are constantly monitoring the code, the actions, everything, to prevent any negative outcomes. It's like having a built-in security team, making sure that the AI behaves responsibly.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better about things, especially as these AI systems are becoming more and more integrated into our digital lives. But I want to back up a little bit because I'm still trying to wrap my head around this whole multiple AI agents working together thing. Can you walk me through how this works in practice? Like, if we're talking about solving a complex math problem, what are the different agents doing? What does that actually look like?
Sure. So let's say you give AutoGen a really challenging equation to solve. Now, instead of tackling it as one massive problem, AutoGen breaks it down into smaller, more manageable subtasks.
Okay.
And each of these subtasks is assigned to a specialized agent. It's kind of like having a team of mathematicians, each with their own area of expertise.
I see. So one agent might be simplifying the equation, another one might be applying a specific formula, another one's verifying the result.
Exactly. And because these agents can communicate and collaborate with each other, they can share their findings, they can cross-check their work, and ultimately, they arrive at the solution much more efficiently than a single AI working in isolation.
So we're not just talking about increased efficiency here. We're talking about potentially solving problems that were previously impossible for a single AI to handle. That's incredible. This could revolutionize fields that rely heavily on this kind of complex problem solving, scientific research, financial modeling,
Absolutely.
even medical diagnosis.
Yes. This is really about augmenting our ability to tackle these increasingly complex challenges by harnessing the power of collaborative AI.
Okay. That's amazing. Now, you said earlier that AutoGen is incredibly flexible.
Yeah.
What did you mean by that? What else can we do with this kind of AI?
Well, you know how we were talking about AutoGen interacting with the real world, like
Yeah.
controlling that web browser?
Yeah.
The paper goes into some really fascinating applications in gaming. Specifically, this really cool concept called conversational chess.
Conversational chess. That sounds like something straight out of science fiction.
It really does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Imagine playing chess, but instead of just silently moving pieces, you're actually having this conversation with your opponent.
And your opponent is AI.
Yeah, your opponent is this AI powered by AutoGen. And it's not just about trash talk or anything.
Oh, okay.
Remember how we were talking about this multi-agent system?
Yeah.
So in conversational chess, you have these different agents that handle various aspects of the game, the interaction.
Okay.
One agent might be focused on strategy, so it's analyzing the board, making the moves. But then you have another agent that's actually managing the conversation, injecting some personality, maybe analyzing the game out loud, reacting to your moves.
So it's like having a chess grandmaster and like a really charismatic commentator
Yeah.
all rolled into one AI opponent.
Exactly.
That's really cool. But how do you make sure that, like, in all this banter, how do you make sure that the AI doesn't accidentally make an illegal move or something?
That's a great question. And it brings up this really important concept in AI development called grounding.
Okay.
And grounding, in this context, basically means making sure that the AI's actions, in this case, its chess moves, are aligned with the rules of the game.
So it's like having a built-in referee, making sure that AI doesn't try to cheat.
Yeah, exactly. And in AutoGen, this is done through what they call a board agent, which is constantly monitoring the game, making sure that every move the AI makes is legal.
Okay, that makes sense. And I imagine this concept of grounding is super important, not just for games, but for any kind of AI application that interacts with the real world, right?
Absolutely.
Like we wouldn't want our AI chef, chopping veggies without paying attention to where their fingers are.
Exactly. Grounding is crucial for safety, reliability, everything. It doesn't matter if it's playing a game or controlling a robot. The AI has to work within the rules, within the constraints of that environment.
Absolutely. So you mentioned earlier that AutoGen is really flexible. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more? What makes it so adaptable?
Sure. One of the most remarkable things about AutoGen is that it's open source, and it's designed to be really customizable.
Okay.
So developers aren't limited to just using the agents that are already built in. They can create their own specialized agents, each one tailored to a specific task or domain.
Oh, wow. So it's like having this toolbox full of AI building blocks. And developers can just mix and match, create these custom AI teams for almost any application they can think of.
Exactly. So imagine you're building an AI system for, say, medical diagnosis. You could have one agent that specializes in analyzing medical images. Another one's really good at interpreting patient history, and another one is dedicated to researching the latest medical literature.
It's like having this whole team of specialists all working together seamlessly.
Yeah.
I'm really fascinated by this conversational aspect of AutoGen. Like, how much can developers actually shape the way that these AI agents communicate with each other?
That is a fantastic question, and it gets to the heart of what makes AutoGen so different. Because we're not just programming individual actions here, we're actually shaping the flow of communication, the collaboration.
Okay.
Developers can actually define how these agents start conversations with each other, how they share information, how they resolve disagreements.
So it's kind of like directing a play, right?
Yes.
Where the script is the problem they're trying to solve. You set the stage, define the roles, and then the AI agents, they kind of improvise within those parameters.
Exactly. And a really skilled developer, just like a good director, can guide these AI agents toward a really creative and effective solution.
Wow, that is a really powerful analogy. It sounds like AutoGen really does open up a whole new world of possibilities for AI. We're moving away from these like rigid instructions and toward more flexible, dynamic interactions.
Yes, exactly.
It's really incredible. But with all this exciting potential, we also need to talk about the elephant in the room a little bit. There must be challenges that come with working with these kinds of complex systems.
Absolutely. And the paper doesn't shy away from those challenges at all. I think one of the biggest concerns is, unintended consequences. When you have these multiple agents all interacting, making decisions, potentially even executing code, there's always the risk that something could happen that you didn't anticipate.
Yeah, it sounds like we're venturing into some uncharted territory here. So what are some of the things that we can do to make sure these AI teams stay on track and don't, go rogue?
Well, that's where this concept of human in the loop becomes really, really important.
Okay.
AutoGen is designed with this in mind. Humans are still active participants in this process, not just passive observers.
So it's all about finding that balance between giving the AI autonomy, but also maintaining some level of human oversight. We want to leverage the power and efficiency of AI, but not at the expense of, potentially creating unforeseen negative consequences.
Exactly. And AutoGen actually provides several different mechanisms for striking that balance. Developers can set boundaries for the AI's actions. They can create checkpoints that require human approval. They can implement systems that monitor the AI's decision-making process.
So it's almost like having a system of checks and balances in place to make sure that the AI is behaving responsibly, even as these systems become more and more sophisticated.
Absolutely, exactly. And this leads into another challenge, which is how do you actually debug these systems? How do you understand what's going on when you have multiple AIs interacting? It can be really tricky to pinpoint the root cause of an error or an unexpected behavior.
Yeah, I can only imagine. It's like trying to follow a conversation in a room full of people talking over each other, each with their own motivations, and you're trying to figure out who said what and why.
Yes, it's complicated. But the nice thing is that AutoGen actually provides developers with tools to monitor, log, and analyze all of those interactions between agents. It's like having a transcript of the AI team's conversation,
Yeah.
so you can actually go back and see how decisions were made and figure out where things might have gone wrong.
Oh, that's so helpful. It's like having that window into the AI's thought process so you can understand it better.
Exactly. And I think this focus on transparency, on control, it's going to be crucial for building trust in AI. As we move toward a future where AI is playing a bigger and bigger role in our lives, that trust is going to be really, really essential.
For sure. We need to make sure that these AI systems are not just effective, but that they're understandable, that they're aligned with our values.
Absolutely. And that's going to be an ongoing effort. That's going to involve researchers, developers, policymakers, society as a whole. We need to have these open and honest conversations about the potential impact of this technology, establish those ethical guidelines, and make sure that it's used in a way that benefits everyone.
Well said. I think we've covered a lot of ground here. We talked about the nuts and bolts of how AutoGen works. We talked about some really cool applications, conversational chess. We've really only just scratched the surface, though. It feels like we're on the cusp of something really big here with this technology.
We really are. It's an exciting time to be working in AI.
It is. It is. But, as with any powerful technology, we need to make sure we're using it responsibly.
Absolutely. And that responsibility goes beyond just, preventing negative outcomes. It also means making sure that we're using AI to actually solve real-world problems, to make people's lives better, to create a brighter future.
I couldn't agree more. It's not just about what AI can do, but what we choose to do with it. It's amazing to think about how this technology could be used not just to, automate tasks, but to actually help us solve some of the world's biggest problems. So as we wrap up our deep dive into AutoGen, I'm curious, where do we go from here? What's next? What are some of the most exciting possibilities you see on the horizon for this technology?
It really is an exciting time to be working in this field. The paper actually highlights several really promising directions for future research. And one that I find particularly fascinating is this idea of scaling up these multi-agent systems.
Scaling up. So you're talking about building these AI teams with hundreds, thousands, even more agents.
Yeah, exactly. Right now, a lot of the applications involve a relatively small number of agents. But imagine if we could create these massive interconnected AI teams, each agent bringing its own specialized knowledge capabilities.
Would be like building a giant AI brain trust.
Yes, exactly.
What kind of problems could we tackle with that level of computational power, that level of collaboration?
The possibilities, they're really kind of mind-blowing when you start thinking about it. I mean, we could potentially have AI systems that are managing entire cities, optimizing global supply chains, maybe even accelerating scientific discovery by automating complex research tasks.
It's incredible to think about AutoGen being used to, actually make a real difference in the world. But scaling up these systems, that's going to come with its own set of challenges too, right? We were just talking about the complexities of understanding how these AI teams make decisions, even on a small scale.
Yeah, it's not just a matter of, throwing more agents at the problem. As these systems get more complex, we're going to need new tools, new techniques for managing all of that communication, ensuring coordination, and making sure that agents aren't working at cross purposes.
It's like we need some AI traffic cops to keep everything running smoothly.
Exactly. We need to make sure everybody's on the same page. And this actually highlights the importance of research into things like distributed AI, where you have multiple systems working together autonomously.
It's amazing to think about how far we've come with AI, from those early days of, simple rule-based systems to these incredibly complex collaborative systems. It really does feel like we're witnessing the birth of a new kind of intelligence.
I think so. I think we're really at the very beginning of something incredibly significant.
It's an exciting time, but also a little bit daunting.
Absolutely, we have to proceed with, with both enthusiasm and caution.
Exactly, exactly. We need to make sure that we're developing, that we're deploying this technology responsibly with a focus on, human well-being on ethics.
I completely agree. As we move forward, we need to be having these open and honest conversations about the potential impact of AI. We need to establish ethical guidelines and really foster collaboration. Researchers, developers, policymakers, the public, everybody needs to be involved.
It's a collective effort, for sure. AI needs to be used to create a future that benefits everyone. Well, this has been an absolutely fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time to break all of this down for us.
It was my pleasure. Honestly, this is such a rapidly evolving field. There's always something new and exciting to talk about. Who knows what amazing breakthroughs we'll be discussing next time.
I can't wait to find out. That's it for our deep dive today, everyone. Until next time, keep asking those big questions and stay curious.